Hey guys, this is Hannah and this is Bookworms Talk, and today we're going to talk about Twisted Perfection by Abbi Glines. This was such a good read, and I cannot thank you guys enough for recommending Abbi Glines books to me like crazy, and now I plan on reading like everything. I'm now obsessed with Abbi Glines' writing. Seriously, you're just a great author. You're just great at what you do. So I'm going to give you guys a summary of Twisted Perfection. So our protagonist, Della, is on a road trip to find herself. More so than you originally think. Like, you don't realize how big of a deal that is until you really get into the story and understand that this is literally her first time at living. And so on the road, she stops at this gas station and meets this guy, Woods, and she sleeps with him. And these two actually have a lot in common. Like, they both don't want to become one of their parents. He does not want to become his father, who is just controlling and all business-driven and just cold, and she doesn't want to become her mother, and her mother was mentally ill. So then Della continues on her road trip and she ends up in Dallas, and she stops there to do waitressing for a while and so she can earn some money for hotels and gas. And she sleeps with her boss. And I'm gonna throw this out here right now because the way that I've decided to phrase this and give the summary, it kind of makes her sound like a slut. And she's really not. She's only slept with 3 guys. Anyway, so she sleeps with her boss, and she finds out that he's married and has a baby on the way. And she, of course, is just mortified and furious. And so this bartender that works there at the place that she's been working for the last little while offers her his old place in Rosemary, his hometown, and he's not staying there. And she's worked with him for a while, and so she takes him at his word, she trusts him, and she goes to Rosemary. And he sets her up with this job at a country club, and she was supposed to go and talk to Mr. Carrington. And she goes, and guess who Mr. Carrington is, guys? It's Woods! Surprise! Yeah! And Woods has so many issues, and so does she. Like, you don't even begin to understand the issues that she has. But Woods is just controlled by his father, who is like trying to force him into marrying Angelina. And I'm just like, you're gonna marry the girl because daddy told you to? I mean, that doesn't work anymore. We're in the 21st century now. That doesn't fly. But then it's explained because it's for this whole business deal, and it's the combination of the Greystone name and the Carrington name, and it's just good for business. And Woods is just like, well, I want my place in the business, and his father is going to withhold his rightful position that he has always worked for, and he's earned that position. He said, not unless you marry Angelina will I give you that. And that's what he's always wanted, and there's nothing wrong with him wanting that. Like, we always are reading these stories where they want to rebel against the parents, and that is their dream for them, not their own dream for them, and all that nonsense. But so what if he wants that? I mean, that's how he was raised, and I mean, he's always kind of had Della in his mind, and I mean, it's been a couple months, right? So she comes back out of the blue, and he can't stop thinking about her, and he ends up having sex with her at this party, and then afterwards she finds out about Angelina and how he's going to be engaged. His father bought her engagement ring. Let me throw that out there for you. Oh, I don't like his father. I don't like him at all. She finds out, and she's just like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, she just did this with her boss, and she's just like, I need to stay away from him. So Woods has a choice to make. To go after what he's always wanted and worked for his whole life, his career, or does he want Della, who he's recently discovered, and is that really what happiness is going to be with him? Is she really going to stay, or is she going to run? It's just all these things and this big choice that he has to make, and it's just so crazy interesting, and it's a really short book, I think, but I felt like it was so long, and I really enjoyed a shorter book. I've been reading things like this big, and it's nice to read something skinny and tiny for a while. I liked it, and it didn't lack depth, which I'm normally afraid of when I see short books, but Abbi Glines has mastered this. There was not one slow chapter, not a slow page, I swear it. It's just crazy how good she is. And that's all for the non-spoiler section, because I want to start talking the nitty-gritty and all of that fun stuff. So I will see you guys later when you have read it. Bye! When Della found out about Angelina, she's just like, that ring on her finger is the only explanation I will ever need. And I'm just like, oh, that stung. I mean, Della was like locked up for all of her life. And she wasn't allowed to socialize, and she wasn't allowed to go outside. And that's not it. Like, it really affected her to this day. And then finding her mother dead, that's something else that really deeply affected her. And I'm gonna go psychology on you guys for just a second here. Like, we didn't have literally the names of what her mother was, but I think that I can deduce a couple of the things based on my sociology and psychology classes, and so I'm actually gonna go there because this is my form of studying for a test. So her mother was agoraphobic. She was afraid of the outside world. That was very clear. And she also had hallucinations. I also believe that she has a major depressive disorder. I mean, obviously she was suicidal. She killed herself, and she had hallucinations, and she was disturbed, and so I think that definitely fits. And she had a couple symptoms of schizophrenia. She had the hallucinations, and because they were so extreme and they were voices. And she was delusional too, because she honestly thought her son was there. So yeah, those are my ideas of what I think her mother had. That's what I pieced together from it, at least. I mean, I'm not even done with my psychology class yet, so I can't really say I'm a great judge of that kind of thing. That's what I got out of it. And so Della suffers with these panic attacks, and she's catatonic. Catatonic meaning that she just literally shuts down. Like, no one's home. She's like mute. And she has these awful, awful nightmares where she's reliving the past, and it's like she's there again. And so Della thinks that she's going crazy just like her mother, that she's showing early symptoms. And I don't think that she's going to go crazy. I think that that's just reasonably what would happen. You lived for, what was it, 16 years? Like basically under lock and key, not able to socialize, and then you saw your mother dead in a pool of blood and you had to deal with her hallucinations growing up, but that's who you had as a person to be around. And so I think that's just side effects of that. I don't necessarily think it's because she's losing her mind. But she thinks she's going crazy, and she doesn't think it's fair for her to let Woods love her, and so she kind of tries to push him away, but she feels safe with him. So Woods tries to be, what should I call it, selfless by not having sex with her. Like, he didn't want it to just be about him and sex, and so he gets her off, and then he just is like another person after it, right? And he's taking her back to Tripp's house, which he's not wild about her staying at, by the way. And she's just like, did I do something wrong? And he like feels bad automatically because he didn't explain it, and I was confused, and I was like, Woods, what are you doing? Then he gives her his hoodie and says, when you get inside, go and change into something loose and baggy, and for all that is holy, please wear panties and a bra. You know, keeping her from Tripp's eyes, and that was actually cute. And speaking of Tripp, let's talk about how much I love him. So she goes inside after Tripp drops her off with the hoodie and everything, and she's so confused by everything that's happened. And anyway, so then Della tells him that he took her into his grandparents' house, and he told him about his grandmother. And then Tripp is like, that's like off limits ground. Like, he took you there? He doesn't take anybody there. And then he explains the baggy clothes thing and how he saw the motorcycle, and he's just like, oh, Carrington has gone all possessive. Never seen him before, and it's funny. And it is funny because the way he's acting is totally ridiculous but understandable, and it's so caveman. And maybe it's Abbi that described it like that so that I continue to describe it like that, but I think it's really a good way to describe his actions. And continuing down the Tripp train here, after he finds them in Woods' office, and he knows that they were having sex in there, and he's like, you didn't do anything in this chair, did you? You're making me laugh, Tripp. I love you. So Tripp tells Woods about her nightmares, and he says, she held that hoodie so tightly when she woke up last night. She buried her face in it. And then he described how she was trembling, and it just broke his heart because he couldn't do anything about it. Tripp, I can't. I want that story, Abbi Glines. I want that Tripp continuation. I really, really like him. And I'm going to read you what Woods' grandfather said to him. Don't miss out on the love of a good woman, son. No matter what that old man of yours tells you, love is real. I'd have never had the success in my life without that woman right there. She's been my backbone. She's been my reason for everything I've ever done. One day your drive to make a name for yourself will begin to drift away. It won't be that important anymore. But when you're doing it for someone else, someone you would move heaven and earth for, then you would never lose the desire to succeed. I can't imagine this world without her in it. I don't even want to. And that was just the most beautiful thing. It gave me chills. I got chills reading it just then because that is just beautifully spoken, and it's good that Woods had some sort of example in his life, and it was his grandfather and not his father. He had that still. So Tripp proposes that Woods comes over after she falls asleep, and that way he can be there for her nightmares. And he is there for her, and she wakes up and she's thrashing, she's screaming, and then eventually she just claws into him like she needs him closer and closer. And then he starts crying, and I can't do man tears. I was a tearing fit then. I'm just like, are you serious? Because I was pretty proud of myself that I only had cried minimally up to this point. I was crying like a baby. So there's this one point, the next morning actually, and she goes down on him. And she's like, he likes hearing me gag. And I'm like, what? How is gagging attractive? That's my one question. Just one. So then, his father, I hate the man, I really do. Even after the end, I still don't like him. He bribed her to leave, and she just goes into, like, she just blacks out, and then the next day, Woods' father has her arrested, and then falsely has evidence against her saying that she stole jewelry, And he's like, if you, like, will do what's good for my son, if you actually love him, you'll leave. And I mean, this is already something she was thinking, and so it doesn't take much to convince her. And so she goes back to Macon, and I mean, it's not like she had much of a choice. She was in handcuffs the whole way, but she does. I was so frustrated, and then Woods finds out, and then he goes to her, and on the way there, his father calls. And Woods tells his dad off, and he's like, you dumbass motherfucker. You lost me now, too. I want nothing to do with you. And I was just like, preach it, because that man. And then Brayden, she's the best friend ever. She has these questions for Woods because she's not so sure that him coming back into Della's life is a great thing. And so she asks him a couple things. And he has the best responses. She's like, why are you coming here? Because I can't live without Della. I don't want to. She's the reason I get up in the mornings. And then she says, do you think Della is crazy or could possibly go crazy? And he says, no. She's brilliant and full of life. She has issues to overcome, but she's going to get better. I intend to help her, and I believe that one day soon she won't deal with any of these things that torment her. And then she asked, why do you love Della? Until Della walked into my life, I didn't understand the idea of love. I had never been in love and experienced very little of love in my life. But I'd seen it once. My grandparents had loved each other until the day they died. I thought it was a myth. Then I met Della. She got under my skin, and then she began to open emotions in me I didn't know existed. There was no pretense with her. She has no idea she's beautiful, and she's completely selfless. But even if she weren't all those things, her laugh and the look in her eyes when she's truly happy is the only thing that matters in life. And then Brayden's like, okay, I approve, come get her. And she's the best friend to have those questions and didn't just let him come gallivanting back into her life when it might not have been the best thing for her. Props for Bray, really props. He had some awesome answers right there. Boys, take note. And so they make up, and they say that they love each other, and it's beautiful, and he says how strong of a person she is, and then she says how she feels so safe with him, and that he really makes her feel alive, and it's just this beautiful couple pages that I cannot even quote to you, because I'd be reading it verbatim for like 2 minutes. I mean, it was just a wonderful ending, but it's not over yet. I shouldn't have said ending. Woods gets a call that his father has died of a heart attack in the last 30 minutes. I don't know. I don't feel bad that he's dead. I feel bad the way that Woods had left his last conversation with his father, saying he wanted nothing to do with him and he was just done with him. And I would like to think, though, that why he had the heart attack was because he thought, I just lost my son. And maybe that was enough to make him realize that he really did love his son, and he never showed him that kind of love before, and that it wasn't just over, well, now my son is not going to have anything to do with me and my business deal's going through the shitter. You know, like, I would like to hope that it was because he thought I'm losing my son. So I want to know what you guys thought of this book. I really enjoyed it, and I am now hooked on Abbi Glines. I seriously am. I love her writing style. I love that she can write so much and have so much depth and it not be so long. That's talent, my friend, talent. I'm really excited to meet her at Book Bash now, and this is why I wanted to get all my Book Bash authors read, because now I can fully appreciate their greatness. So, name down there any other Abbi Glines books that you really want me to read for Book Bash, because I might be able to actually get through all of hers, because hers are relatively not that long. I'm really excited at the prospect of getting through more books. I'm finally back on track, you guys. I'm filming this on a Tuesday, and as of a couple hours ago, because it's really early right now, I started reading This Girl by Colleen Hoover, and dear God, I'm having to fight the urge just to storm through it, because I don't want it to end, because it's the last of the series, so that we know of. Okay, I can hope. I know she said that this is it, but I have hope in my heart, okay? Just a little, don't crush my hopes. I really want it to last, and I love that it's a storytelling thing, and I'm so excited about it, and yeah, so I'm fangirling here. But I will see you guys next time when I finish that, which will probably be in the next week. I'm trying to make it, like, stretch out, but we all know that's not gonna happen. I will see you guys later next time on Bookworms Talk. Bye! Can we stop talking about her vagina in the third person? Okay, thanks.